Welcome, everyone, to a very special interview in the CDO magazine series of one-on-one interviews with CDO data leaders and key influencers. You're listening to Robert Lutton, Vice President Sandal Consultants, and I'm coming to you today from Toronto, Canada, working with the CDO magazine, MIT CDO IQ Symposium, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing one of the leaders who is responsible for creating and launching of the CDO magazine, Mark Johnson, AVP, Fusion Alliance, and Editorial Board Chair of the CDO magazine. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Robert. It's good to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here. And so, Mark, this kind of video is just going to be more informative, just to get your opinion on some things. But if I can ask, as the readers may be interested to know, how did you come up with the vision for the CDO magazine?
Thanks, Robert. Well, the CDO magazine, I think, is an important voice for the chief executive staff and the senior leadership of governmental agencies to create a place where the leaders who are helping, forge the frontier of the enterprise impact or value framework around leveraging data management and analytic disciplines can speak and can help to inform and educate that community. And I've been passionate, as you know, Robert, about data and data analytics that have driven much of the transformation in the digital age for a number of years. Back in the late 90s, when I was CEO and founder of Energy Solutions, I published a magazine called Inside Decisions, which had the objective of replacing confusion with clarity in the space of data warehousing and BI when it first sort of came along. And so the audience that we had was a similar audience at the time, and the impact of the publication was pretty profound in terms of just helping to educate leaders on how they can take advantage of data management analytics, what kinds of investments they should be making, where the return on investment opportunities were within the organization, and how to really support their data and analytic leadership in ensuring that mission execution could be aligned to the strategic business objectives or agency objectives of the overall organization. So that's kind of the genesis of the idea. We are in an age where digital transformation, the cloud, elastic capacity from a storage perspective, machine learning, artificial intelligence, just a number of these capabilities have all converged. And so making sense out of that and figuring out what the strategy and roadmap should be and aligning that to business execution success, we just felt like there was a voice missing. And we created, therefore, the vision for the publication and got that up and running. And we started that, as you recall, back in 2019 on this journey.
This first came to light through the MIT CDO IQ Symposium, and we thought it was such a great avenue to get exposure to the executives, so that way they can get their message up to the C-suite, and that's really what's led from the idea of starting and then being implemented in the strategies that we see before us. So, Mark, you've been speaking about data management analytics for several years now. Can we ask, if you were to kind of vision cast, what would you say about the future in looking at data management and analytics vision down the line, say about 10 years?
That's a great question, Robert. And I think I've been talking a lot about our kind of, as we have come into 2021. With the publication, and we've got our second generation e-media property up and running at cdomagazine.tech. So we're excited about that, but really looking ahead to 2030. And, so I kind of encapsulate this in the envelope of Vision 2030. And so if you step out 10 years and you think about what the landscape is going to look like in the global economy, the way services are delivered, education is obtained, banking and finance transactions are handled, shopping and commerce, legal support, just any, multitude of things like including healthcare, services. The pandemic has ushered us really in an accelerated way into this digital transformation, lock, stock, and barrel. And at the core of digital transformation is data. If you subtract data from the equation of the enterprise technology investment scenario, there's really no reason to have any of the technology that we spend on outside of data, because we're using that technology to interact, collect data, deliver information, to consummate transactions, to deliver content in terms of all learning scenarios, et cetera. So the data is a really central component of the digital landscape. And as we look out 10 years, especially looking at how fast, for example, intelligent automation, or RPA, is taking hold across the landscape of the organizations. These kinds of technologies that incorporate some level of machine learning and AI are really powered by data. And as we look at the organization and think about the structure of how those services around data management, analytics, data science, machine learning, AI, video analytics, augmented reality, how those services are actually delivered, it becomes increasingly apparent that an organizational capability that can deliver an enterprise level platform and penetrated application scenario across all of the subdivisions of the organization is going to be key. So in 2030, we see that the office of the Chief Data and Analytics Officer is going to be as commonplace in the large organizations as the office of the Chief Financial Officer is today, and as important. And so what can we do to sort of accelerate the maturation of these enterprise capabilities and the formation of a capability within the enterprise that is that valuable? That's what our contribution from a CDO magazine perspective, in partnership with MIT CDO Information Quality Symposium program, and also in partnership with the International Society of Chief Data Officers, is all about.
Thanks, Mark. And in fact, some additional ideas that may be worthwhile just to bring up at this point for anyone watching this video. The CDO magazine is part of the editorial board. We are often looking for ideas to share best practices and articles. So if you would like to volunteer to write an article, you can contact any one of the editorial boards. We're also interested in anyone that is looking for the ability to network within a global community. So CDOs and their C-suites. In fact, we talked about this before, about our global ambassador program, that our country CDO ambassador program that you can find on the CDO website. And then also technology partners in the business who have solutions that would like to reach out to this community are all welcome to reach out to the editorial board and be part and parcel of the solution in this digital engagement as organizations move towards a digital transformation. So Mark, community is a big thing. Community of individuals, of roles, of partners. And speaking of community, we understand that the CDO magazine is partnered with some very high-level partners in the data community, such as you just mentioned, the MIT CDO IQ Symposium, of which I believe you're involved with, and also the International Society of Chief Data Officers. And I believe you're also involved in that. And also, finally, the joint program that all three organizations have launched, which is the country CDO Ambassador Network. How do you see these pieces fitting together and helping amplify each other?
Boy, that's another great question, Robert. And I think you really painted a great picture there. So I think if you go back to the core, and here's where I'd like to kind of bring into the conversation Steve Wanamaker in the Lee Tribune Media Group, which is actually the publisher of CDO Magazine. Steve was going to join us today, but unfortunately wasn't able to be here. But without his passion and vision and commitment to the formation of all of these communities and his ability as a connector to help us get things connected, I don't think we would be where we are on this journey. But as we speak to how they fit together, really, Robert, and we kicked this idea around a lot, with Dr. Wang at MIT, yourself, and the other members on the organizing committee for the symposium program. It's about amplifying our collective effectiveness in these roles. And, the CDO role, Dr. Wang sort of pioneered that a number of, decades ago now almost. And it's been gaining momentum and steam within the organization space, but it's still a challenging position. Not always understood in terms of what the CDO and leadership around analytics programs can bring to the table for an organization. And it's kind of a lonely role to some degree at the C-suite level, because most of the other C-suite leaders don't necessarily have a deep and rich understanding of the disciplines, the complexities associated with data quality, data, privacy, security, integration, how that data is sort of, distributed across the enterprise. So this ecosystem that we're pioneering, kind of with the leadership of Dr. Wang initially and the symposium program, is really all about connecting those leaders and innovators first and foremost in the local communities. As you know, we're supporting the establishment of local CDO roundtable communities in each one of the major markets in the major cities of the United States, connecting those roundtable communities to the state level with that global CDO ambassador program that exists out there, so that the voice of those local communities can be amplified at the state level, and that state level voice can be amplified across the country and around the world through those global CDO ambassadors that are out there. And that network is also available to see how it's growing out on the CDO magazine website. And so in the events that we're orchestrating around the symposium program at MIT and other collaborations that are taking shape around with these global ambassadors, with the collaboration that's coming out of the community in the International Society of Chief Data Officers, which is also contributing expertise, ideas, and collaboration within that space to the global network, we see a rapid acceleration of the amplification of the voice, the strategies and ideas, and the impact that these leaders can bring to the table. And so that's how those puzzle pieces fit together. And we're trying to make sure that we have an inclusive, sort of open source ecosystem that people can plug into.
And inclusive, very inclusive. So thank you for that, Mark. I actually just received some information today on target audience, which I think you'll be pleasantly surprised about. That I understand that as of today, February 2021, that the CDO magazine has an audience in over 105 countries globally.
That's exciting. That's really exciting. We are so proud of the global inclusion journey that we've been on, the success of that, and the commitment and the energy and the appreciation that comes from each one of the global ambassadors, how they are engaging, helping spread the word about the community that is being created, and leaning in to participate in it. That's just a huge testimonial. And Robert, you'll recall when Symposium in 2020 had to go virtual, we were expecting an audience of about 600 attendees, and we actually were able to, and most of those domestic, but we were actually able to go global with Symposium and reach over 1,000 attendees in the Symposium program. So that allowed us, with the launch of the publication back in July of 2020, to immediately reach out through that network and get penetration into the global community. So that's exciting. Those statistics really paint a picture of desire out there, don't they?
They do. And in fact, I think the symposium is targeting to reach out to 2,000 plus CDOs and data leaders. Just coming back to the target audience, if maybe you can elaborate on who the CDO magazine sees as a target audience and how you see them benefiting from the content published on the CDO magazine website.
Yeah, that's a great question. And so that's the centerpiece for our vision. So we know that if you take the CDO from any organization, I could say Nationwide Insurance, I could say Procter & Gamble, I could say Kroger Corporation, or TD Ameritrade, you name the organization. That role of the Chief Data Officer is really focused on, in order to optimize the value delivery proposition, focused on educating and engaging the C-suite leaders. and bringing the capabilities that they're stewarding alongside as enablers to the business strategy and accelerators to the business strategy. So the publication is really this sort of independent platform that's been organized with that community as its primary target audience. So what I lead on the editorial board in formulating the agenda for the publication, and like, for example, our editorial review subcommittee performs, is that we are responsible for curating the content and ensuring that what we publish and the interviews that we post to the site really speak to that audience, because we want to educate them, because we know in educating the C-suite reader that they're going to be able to ask more informed questions, become better sponsors and partners of the work that their chief data officer or chief analytics officer leaders are bringing to the table, and thereby amplify the effectiveness of and success of those capabilities and increase the return on investment of their activities when contributed to mission execution. So that's our audience. The platform that we're using to educate that audience is the network of chief data and analytic officers from around the world. So the people who are in the chair doing the hard work in Mexico or in Peru or in Israel or in the UK or across the United States, we want those leaders to have their voices doing that education. And we think that's a really great strategy and a value proposition for the readership.
Exciting times. Mark, as you know, we're hopefully coming towards the tail end of the pandemic, at least in North America. And it's caused a lot of changes over the past year. In your opinion, how has the pandemic impacted the magazine's ability to deliver content and to reach the right folks?
Well, that's the thing that I'm probably the most excited about, because I think the pandemic has obviously caused everyone to come indoors and go online for everything, right? We do everything digitally, and also the pandemic has ushered in an era of data becoming center stage in understanding all dimensions of how this pandemic is transmitted, how it affects the population around the world, the different strategies in contact tracing, the strategies that organizations are employing to enable their workforce, which has gone remote, to come back safely to work on site. And so there's been probably a multifold increase in demand for analytical insight from every corner of the economy and public sectors. And that's thrown a spotlight on data. And it's thrown a lot of interest in how can organizations accelerate their access to data and insight, the application of machine learning, artificial intelligence to an increasingly diversified set of data. And also the inclusion of really the convergence of data sets that have been sort of used together, but lightly in various analytical scenarios to go mainstream. So I'll give you an example. There's a company called SafeGraph, and they're providing places data that is collected through the aggregation of mobile app opt-in location services that collect the movement of individuals and their cell phones and into very precisely defined geographic spaces. So in a particular Starbucks in a shopping center, that level of precision of the movement of a particular individual anonymized cellular device from a zip code zone at where the home is located. And so that data set has been extremely valuable in understanding the movement of population and the spread of the COVID disease. And those insights have been helpful from an economic forecasting perspective, using that data set, from a COVID response perspective, using that data set from a public policy perspective, using that data set. The other data set that's really become really valuable in almost daily analysis is the weather data set. So looking at how weather data affects the movement of population indoors and outdoors, correlated with enterprise data on transaction activity or e-commerce data from companies that sell online. So these data sets coming together have become that sort of holy grail, if you will, of that platform to allow data science, machine learning, and advanced analytics to really derive value from data. And in this kind of redefined normal that we're living in while we're going through the pandemic, it really has allowed the publication to be a voice of amplification of the innovative approaches that these data and analytic leaders are taking around the world to begin to address some of those issues. And that has really, I think, paid dividends for the timing of the launch of our publication and the proliferation of our readership as the global community seeks answers and looks for ideas to accelerate. Wouldn't you agree, Robert?
Yeah, there's, I hate to say it, but there's always a silver lining that one can look out for. Mark, just on our final minute or two here, final thoughts. If we can ask, what final thoughts would you like to provide to our viewers?
Well, great, and thanks, and I'll try to make this quick. I've been in this data and analytics game for a long time. I started my journey in data analytics, believe it or not, back in the late 70s of the last century. And there has never been a time in my entire experience in all those years and decades that the contribution potential and the realized value proposition from data management, data and analytics has been larger than it is today. And so what we really need to do to really push the mission and objectives of helping the world advance as quickly as they can to get through the pandemic and to navigate and optimize the return to economic growth and expansion on a global basis is to collaborate and share more. So that's an ask in my final comments here. That's an ask to you, the viewers of this video in two big categories. One is in the C-suite. If you're a C-suite leader and you're in an organization that really understands and values and aligns and commits and enables your data and analytics organization to drive that value with a seat at the table of your strategic leadership thought process and strategy formation process, we'd love to give you an opportunity to share your voice to your peers on the platform. So there's opportunity to participate in a short video interview that can be posted to the site. The other community is if you're a chief data and or analytics officer, we would love to invite you to do the same, both from an interview perspective and also from an opportunity to contribute written content around some of the successes that you're having and innovative ideas that are driving your program forward. And so if you, in my closing comments, if you would be willing to reach out and make those contributions, just know that you're going to be helping to advance this discipline around the world and making a difference for years to come as the world pivots on data and analytics and digital transformation. So that's my kind of final comment.
Well said, Mark. And I'd really like to thank you for your time today. I truly believe that together, you and Steve and the folks at the CDO magazine have created a unique platform for the C-suite and data leaders to get their successes and messages out globally to the community. And we really appreciate the investment of time and money that you and Steve have put forth in making this a program and this magazine a successful adventure under your leaderships, and of course to our contributors and consumers. So thank you, Mark.
Can I just add one other thing, Robert? I'd like to offer a special word of thanks to my CEO, the founder and CEO of Fusion Alliance, who allows me to do the things that I do to help our community advance. And so without his support and the support of our Vice President of Strategy, Dave Levine, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm able to do. So that's really an appreciation. And a special word of thanks goes to Dan Whitaker and the Kroger Corporation, whose vision and passion and commitment and desire has helped to sort of shove me into action on this topic. Dan and I collaborate a lot, and he's just a great idea person and a resource that supports us in the community. So thankful to the Kroger Corporation for allowing Dan to do what he does as well.
And many thanks to your CEO. I don't think you mentioned his name though, Mark. Do you want to just give a shout out to your CEO?
Doug Brown. Doug Brown's our founder and CEO. Yeah, he's a great leader, and our organization does some pretty interesting stuff. But the exciting thing that we're doing is building on that commitment to build community. And so I'm honored to be able to have the opportunity to do that as we continue to collaborate, Robert. And to you, you're an amazing guy, and you shoulder a lot. So I just walk around, carry your bags.
Mark, much appreciated. As always, a big thanks to our listeners. And for more interviews and articles, please visit the website cdomagazine.tech. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.